Hello everybody, welcome back to Language, Litigation, and Integration Part 81, Denial Until Death. Again, just trying to fight off some more conspiracy theories. I thought I would again, if you're new to my channel, which is everybody, no one watches my shit, but I'm not a politician, I don't do politics are for fucking retards. But I thought I'd try to appeal to the Republican cohort a little more today. Because again, completely incompetent. Because I don't even know if Brett Weinstein and Heather Hang are Republican, but they're absolutely scientific deniers. And at the very minimum and at the most, they're spreading false scientific information. So we're going to talk a little bit more about COVID stuff. Oh, I guess this one's called Denial Until Death. So we'll talk about more COVID stuff, a review of history and constitutional law for Mr. Ben Shapiro, and then we'll talk about, I just had some interesting talking points about death. So what's the psychological response to death? What's a healthy and normal response to death? And then maybe one or two other talking points. But the first thing, picking up exactly where we left off on the last one, talking about immunity durability, right? You have Heather Hang and Brett Weinstein and literally every illiterate Republican basically saying just engage in reckless behavior, endanger other people, and then say freedom a bunch of fucking times. So we're just going to rip through them. We'll also rip through Michael Franzese, and then just the conversation about death. But what is the measure of immune durability? Is it your antibody levels? Is it your T cell count? No, it's if you get reinfected. Or you don't really, there's no like biological metric saying you're not going to get reinfected. The actual measurement is being reinfected. That would show you don't have immune durability. But again, these people would say, all of these fucking inconsistent people will say, you know, if you can get the vaccine still transmitted, where's the, you know, well, I'll just go through Ben Shapiro. I watched the Justice Sotomayor Proves That She Is Not Wise video on Ben's channel. But again, people with underdeveloped logical thinking, they think in extremes, right? Black and white. They never think in the gray area, and the gray area is humongous. So, and again, Ben Shapiro and Heather Hang, I don't have producers. I do all the research myself. I do all the lecturing myself. I do all of the derivation myself. I do all of the editing and posting myself. So if you have a bunch of clowns behind you, probably Brett and Heather, you're probably too fucking poor to afford a real, maybe like one producer or some shit. I think his name's Zach. But you can't probably afford shit. But like Ben, I don't have. Ben says he's a lawyer, and I don't have producers. The fastest growing conservative talk show in the land. Fuck no, I'm gonna put you out of business. From this point forward, again, if I hear one more person say the vaccines don't work, how many people died from COVID that are not vaccinated? If it's more than 50% or 60%, it works. That's the end-all be-all answer. Anything else is scientific fraud, personally being prosecuted by me. Going through the Ben Shapiro conversation, he says, now here's the big brain Republicans. We have a new buzzword. We found a new one-liner to get everybody with. What's the difference between hospitalizations with COVID, not from COVID? Meaning you just go into the hospital for anything and you get tested and you have COVID. Again, hospitals, because they use this as, well, hospitalization numbers aren't super accurate, reporting numbers aren't super accurate. The metric that matters, for like the 50 millionth time, how many people die from COVID are unvaccinated? If it's more than 50 to 60%, the vaccines work, period. Again, as I personally get questioned if I'm vaccinated by my own family and harassed at my own fucking dinner table why I give lectures on this shit because they just refuse to engage scientific literature. It scares people. It literally scares people. So again, I'm just trying to be one of you. I'm trying to zoom in. I got signals on Andromeda right now. Maybe. Oh shit. They can hear me now. Oops. But that's the end all be all to do vaccines work. And then Ben goes on to say, you know, and a lot of these other fucking Republican idiots, they say, you know, vaccines doesn't stop all transmission. Certainly not, but it certainly substantially stops transmission. 100% will neutralize a good amount of transmission, 50, 60, 70%, 100,000%. For sure, 100%. So again, Brett, Heather, Eric Weinstein, Joe Rogan, all of you fucking absolute scientific denials that are 50, 60, 70, 80 science deniers, not just vaccines, you're just incompetent at doing scientific research. But vaccines do stop some transmission, and I have probably most. And then I said, who do you protect with widely available vaccines about mandates? And then I have, I'm completely vaccinated and don't give a fuck about mandates. Personally, generally I do, meaning they certainly work. One of the examples was from Michael Franzese was, going on an airplane. As a fully vaccinated human being, I would accept the very small amount of risk of going on an airplane from my perspective. An unvaccinated person's not going to really affect me all of that much. Is it completely fucking retarded? Yes. Is it stupid? Yes. Do the vaccines work? Yes. Do masks work? Yes. All of that stuff, the same shit. And it's just whiny little babies. Brett and Heather, do you guys need like Goo Goo Gaga dolls to maybe like grow up a little bit? You can play around and maybe grow up, maybe learn something. I don't know, maybe Hooked on Phonics. I offered that to President Trump when he was in office. Maybe I could send you guys a copy of Hooked on Phonics and you can learn to actually fucking read. But the mandates help people on the fence. The people on the fence of ignorance, meaning Joe Blow, he's not a politician, he doesn't give a fuck about Ben Shapiro, Brett Weinstein, anybody on AOC, anybody on any political spectrum, but he's just going into his work and he's not really motivated to go get the vaccine, he's not super scientifically literate, and then someone says, well, you need to go do this or you're going to lose your job. And he goes, how could I ever lose a job? And that guy's going to say, if he's not, again, politically loaded, oh, sure, why would I not just go do that? So it helps everybody in society, but the biggest thing for mandates are people on the fence. People with real, if you're faking your vaccine card or you're doing this or doing that, you die off again. You just speed up the process. And again, I just saw Ben Shapiro is releasing a book with some fucking idiot, again, black dude. Again, that's like a big thing if you're black and conservative or something. And so he was, again, a basketball player. He wouldn't kneel for Black Lives Matter, which again, I don't, either on Black Lives Matter kneeling or standing, I don't think, I'm not Black Lives Matter, I don't join groups. I support civil rights all the time, but I don't do showmanship. I don't give a fuck. I don't think kneeling or not kneeling. We already talked about that a little bit with Kaepernick. I don't give a fuck either way on shit like that. But then the guy goes, like I said, none of this is written down. Well, some of this is written down, but not the black guy they're signing a book with. But again, they say they stand for freedom and they stand for reckless behavior and stupidity. But then Ben Shapiro, again, a lawyer who needs to absolutely be disbarred, who absolutely, if you've learned one thing from me, I'm going to put the Daily Wire out of fucking business for spreading fraudulent scientific information. But he says masks are unconstitutional. And then he cites OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration Act of 1970. Well, the administration came out of the Act of 1970. So policy is not the Constitution. The Constitution is the Constitution. So something unconstitutional would have to go against the Constitution. So how would vaccine mandates go against the Constitution? Ben Shapiro, I want a written response. And I'm going to tell you why not. So again, I've already cited the correct legal thing, but let's a quick history review. Why did the United States Constitution come into play? To replace the Articles of Confederation. Basically, the biggest thing historically, and this is the only part about Ben's conversation that he did get correct, the states were in power. Why states? Why state versus federal government? Why did that come into play? Because there was already states, right? The colonies became states. And so they had a big financial interest, trading interest, commercial interest to be unified. So that's really the motivations. So in constitutional law, when you're saying, again, the rights of the people, the entire structure of the fucking Constitution is to set up the fucking government and its rights. The Bill of Rights is what gives the people the rights. And it's very fucking limited, believe it or not. And again, the whole time Ben's like, has he ever read the Constitution? Ben, have you read the Constitution? And again, just remind me, what does Article 1, Section 8, Subsection 7 say? Or it might be Article 7, Subsection 8. The thing about, I have a constitutional right to my writings and discoveries. So it's just a la carte, man. Just pick what you want. This part of the Constitution matters, this one doesn't. Oh, we want to go blow up our buildings. Again, like the Republicans or anybody can't fucking accept human history. The United States government was absolutely willfully complicit at the very minimum in 9/11. But there's just a level of history and denial we can't cross. And so we just keep fucking killing people. So that's cool. Again, I don't care who lives or dies. This life is such a disgusting joke anymore. But OSHA, Ben, is not the Constitution. So you should show me one part of the United States Constitution under national security that violates one of the amendments. But states, the point for the states versus the federales, the federal government, but is all of the ending quote is like, all of the powers not vested by this Constitution to the federal government remain with the states. So that's really the historical and constitutional backing to where that discussion comes from, and in no ways are mandates unconstitutional. In the same way, martial law is not unconstitutional. Anything that endangers national security is 100% the purview, the legal jurisdiction of the federal government. So they absolutely can do that. Again, the Governor DeWine. Also, I think that's funny. I keep seeing people say the buck stops with me. That was me just quoting Mike DeWine because it makes no fucking sense. What the fuck does that mean? I don't know. But I've heard that a bunch on the news now. Gosh, my hat's really... It's actually kind of hard to make a tinfoil hat, by the way. But that is 100% the legal backing for constitutional mandates. And it's not unconstitutional. And again, Ben, if you want to say unconstitutional, cite the Constitution or show me what individual rights it infringes upon. Freedom, it doesn't say, there's no freedom in the fucking Constitution, it just says, it doesn't say freedom anywhere. Go find it for me, buddy. I'm waiting. Because he keeps saying they haven't read the Constitution. I've read it a bunch, and every other piece of historical literature, and proven it all. So, but then he goes on to say the implicit federalism of the Constitution. There's no fucking implicit anything about the Constitution. There's no implicit in legal interpretation. Again, this is part 81. Go back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 when we prove intentionalism does not fucking matter. So when I see a lawyer saying implicit in any legal discourse is go fuck yourself. What does the text say? You can't go past that, the end. And, right, don't you like conservative Ben? Don't you like Justice Scalia? Go read law, the book Reading Law. It's one of the best books I've ever read. Certainly the best linguistic law text I've ever read. But then he says, but the Constitution is not implicitly federal. It's directly federal. Like, that was the whole fucking point. It's completely specious. Ben Shapiro referencing Sotomayor. Specious. Speciality. You are literally going against my fucking proof using my words literally. Then he says, well, those are the only direct quotes I have from good old Ben Shapiro. But he's an absolute fucking idiot. I'm going to do everything to put the Daily Wire out of business. But, then he cites Amy Coney Barrett. Again, this bitch of a judge only got elected to the Supreme Court because, again, the only actual federal, and again, I'm leaving this country, but again, whatever opportunity I work for, whatever hard work, business thing I start, I have way more competence at legal discourse, scientific research, and everything than fucking Amy Coney Barrett. But she wears red, she's a Republican, can I have my hat on to identify with you guys? And then she says, when do people get a choice and a say? That's still not in the Constitution. Come on, constitutionalists. Ben cites Amy Coney Barrett for being a good constitutionalist. And then when do people get a choice and a say? You have freedom of speech. But again, this is national security. Like actually. Like really. Like yes. Like definitely. Like you're all incompetent fucking idiots. I just have with national security, LOL. Stop playing games with people's lives, you stupid fucking political pundits. And you fucking retarded. Again, Sotomayor was a fucking retard. Barrett's a fucking retard. The whole bench is a fucking retard. Retards, excuse me. Gotta be match my pluralities. But that's really all I wanted to say. Well, actually, more on Michael Franzese. He has a couple things. He starts off his like straight talkers talking about mob and life stories. Hate it when you guys fucking talk politics. You don't know fucking dick. He says the IRS and illegal activity and stolen property report, or he talks about the IRS and illegal activity and stolen property reporting requirement. Meaning if you steal something, you have to report it on the IRS. If you sell drugs, you have to report it to the IRS. And then Michael Franzese literally says, why would they do that as a way to encourage crime? Because again, he's a Republican idiot, wannabe Jesus freak, and he just has to pick up the shitty arguments of the party now. And so, as someone who fucking hates the government more than anybody ever could because they destroyed my entire life, it's almost certainly it's for admissions of guilt. If you fucking report a illegal crime, you're going to get fucking arrested for it. But he says that it's encouraging crime. Fuck no. And that's my guess. And again, there's 0%. I'm not guessing on it. Does it encourage crime? No. But almost certainly just to fucking arrest people. Jesus. But then he says, this is where I get just fucking livid. If there was actual science behind it, I'd be all for it. Again, you're a fucking Jesus freak, ex-murderer, career fucking criminal. There is science behind it. Don't step into the fucking science game and speak against what the fuck I've spoken. Calling yourself a Christian and speaking against my word is not going to do you any fucking good. Fucking monkey. About masks and mandates. Can I have respect for people for a very brief time, then get straight disrespectful when you start opening your worthless mouth? It's a power grab. Michael Franzese, nope. He has 9 pizza stores. I have 1 restaurant that I can't fucking run because people will not behave by getting vaccines. So enjoy your fucking privileged ass life, you career fucking criminal murderer. I can't fucking pay my bills. I played the game right every step of the motherfucking way. And now I just have Looney Tunes who vote red and say it's a power grab. No, it isn't. The government is a lot of people and they're all fucking stupid. Learn to think, not just to shoot people in the fucking head. Fucking animal. So that's really all I have for the COVID Looney Tunes, absolute scientific delusional fucking crackpots. So now all of those people that they're encouraging to die, let's just talk about, again, just really kind of switching off COVID and just talking what's a healthy response to death. So I just have, what is a healthy and normal response to death? And just a little, well, I just have a mature versus immature reaction, right? Extremes such as Rizza or John Gotti's wife. Just another aside, I watched Sammy the Bull season 3 finale, and he talks about a story about John Gotti's wife losing a son in a car accident, and then basically going on and on about how, and I quote, I can never be happy again, about losing child, versus Rizza, who said, I felt intense happiness at the passing of his mother. All right, these are the 2 kind of extremes. And then I have a mature response is a real one. When someone passes that you had a good relationship with, you'll feel respect, positive about good memories, maybe a little somber and a little funny, like laughing at the life they lived in a good respectful way. With a bad relationship, you will feel relief, but that's again a measure of insecurity. But the safety equals happiness. When people say they can't feel happiness, I literally can't feel happiness. Not I can't never be happy again. I've never been happy before, like ever, just because I don't feel safety. Like not like, oh, I'm sad, oh, and again, I've been labeled with every fucking fake disease that does not exist. Every single one of those DSM diagnosable mental conditions, Ben Shapiro, are all pretty much fucking false bullshit excuses. And I get caught up in all that nonsense. But if you can feel safe, you can feel happiness. And people say what other people expect to hear, good or bad. Oh my goodness, I lost a child, how will I ever recover? And the reality is we're all fucking individuals, right? Most parents who lose a child don't go immediately kill themselves. Most people who lose an adult don't kill themselves. So it's like this emotional reaction. People are just saying what they expect to say because of death, when the reality is we're all just a bunch of monkeys on a rock. We don't go anywhere. It's like once you die, Ice 9 kills. Don't you know you'll never be gone for good, so you'll never get out of the woods? The thing that matters is the choices and the way you treat other people. But that's really the 2 kind of extremes. And just for more background, another kind of aside for the Sammy Bull story, he talks about basically because his wife was pestering John Gotti ended up killing. Again, not explicitly, not for sure, but implied, certainly the guy disappeared. But basically, the wife pressured him to kill a guy, and it was a car accident. So, again, like I said, I have no respect for the mob to begin with, but this isn't even like a respectable criminal organization. This is just a bunch of power-hungry Looney Tunes. It really just fucking is. But specifically to what's a normal and healthy response to death, how about a fetus? Right, literally in the fetus, all you Republicans, don't kill babies. Let them have terrible lives and then go rob the stores that you hate, Michael Franzese, say all that smash and grab shit. Well, if you can't have a kid, can't raise it, why not have an abortion? So it's this socially responsible thing to do. But fetuses, meaning, no one's interacting with it, no one's formed a personal connection. The psychology of death would be not much of a response. Certainly ideological, but on a personal level, not really. Versus a stillborn, right? How about a woman that carries the whole term and has a stillborn baby? Maybe some emotionality, but still none because you really didn't bond with the thing. and probably more post-mortem depression because you had to go through your body change, you got some stretch marks, you know, you carried a child and just nothing came out, so probably more maternal post-mortem depression, right? Oh, we all love our kids, and then post-mortem or post having a kid depression. How about a death under 1 week as an infant? They come out, you get a bond with them for a little bit. They still don't really have a personality. You're just kind of feeding a literal baby, just a little guy trying to survive. So certainly some sadness there, but again, more at the lost prospect of life as opposed to the actual loss of relationship. Or you look at a fetus, stillborn, one week infant, 1 week to 5 years would start. Is when I consider people would get like actual empathetic with bonding. 1 week to 5 years, versus 5 to 18 years. Certainly is a full-grown human being or developed enough to have a personality. But at the 18 years, you're still going to be, again, loss of the potential of life is what upsets people if they die. Versus 18 to 65, depends on why you would die during that time range. And then 65 to 120 years is kind of when people expect you to die. So it's like, you know, hope he lived a good life, hope he had his affairs in order, did the best he could, he or she, whatever. But really the entire human experience and response, healthy response to death, is really predicated on the age because of the loss of potential of life. So that's really kind of what I wanted to talk about there. The other thing I wanted to talk about was suicide in terms of, again, a specific example from the Sammy the Bull and Michael Franzese Mafia States of America, produced by Patrick Bet David. There's a scene in there, and I don't have the episode written down, but there's a scene in there. Michael Franzese and Patrick Bet David are sitting there basically grilling Sammy over probably about remorse of killing people or something, or just remorse of the life. And again, Michael's coming from the authority of the Jesus guy, Jesus freak level. Patrick Bet David's just, Rudy Giuliani was just doing his job. But this is the result of judgment. This is why there's so much prevalent suicide. Most judgment is done in your fucking head. And when that happens, when he says, or Sammy the Bull just goes, what do you want me to do, kill myself? That's the implied result of judgment, right? Well, if you can't contribute to society, well, Brad, if you can't learn physics and you want to go sell weed, well, go die. That is what people tell you directly with their actions. Actions speak louder than words. And so I just wanted to make this another poignant example of, again, people on their high horse. Again, Michael Franzese coming from, talking about being a family guy after I've heard you talk about not being a good husband to your first wife. I can't go on my first date. I'm 28 years old and I can't get a goddamn girlfriend, and I try every day. It will never happen because there are no values in society, fucking zero. But I did wanted to point out the implied result of judgment is people to go commit suicide. Like, for real, that's why it's so prevalent. So keep judging everybody. It's good stuff, everybody. Now just a couple more random talking points. So now just really a couple, again, the denial until death. Deny your vaccines, deny your health, and go die. And that's what's the whole life experience for most fucking people. But just another solid 60 Minutes, the big quit and the big great resignation with high hourly wages and a ton of open jobs. Again, I, personally, the guy that should have been retired when I was like fucking 12, and for all intended purposes, I have been retired since like 24. I would go get a job if I could get one that was appropriate to my skill level, kind of appropriate, like high-level consulting, some get my own company, for fuck's sake. I would do high-level consulting if possible. But obviously I can't. But I just have, how do people actually afford to live? I literally wake up all day, work all day, put out research all day, have more musical production than most anybody will ever do, like musicians, have like 15 careers to the highest level possible. Like, how do people have fucking, when they just quit their job, how? Honestly, how? I can't work anywhere and I want to die. It's just fucking true. I'm never gonna have a family of my own because I just live in a society with no values, and people don't grow up and then they judge people and then they just stagnate and we're done. It's just fucking done. But the other thing, I withdrew my house bid. Definitely seen the competition. Oh shit, the aliens can hear me. Fun fact, the aliens can hear you even with the fucking tinfoil on. For real science, but I'm just trying to appeal to the Republicans right now. But I put in a bid on a house. The house was listed for $390,000. I offered $380,000 cash. and I did not even get a quick response. So after like 36 hours, I withdrew my bid, and the house is pending under contract right now. So I was not gonna, economically, I hope there's some sort of moderation in the housing market soon, but I will be making a play on something in the next 2 weeks. But the house, oh shit, now Andromeda can hear me now. But tinfoil hats are actually kind of hard to make, I didn't put much time into mine, but I think I want to see what the final price was, but I think I'll probably go for over asking. But I got a bunch of these things saved on Zillow, and it's like as soon as I save them, the next day they're under contract. So hopefully that comes down a little bit. Frankly, the houses I'm looking at I can buy in cash comfortably, so hope that comes down a little bit. If not, and I don't want to move in the winter. So I did not close on a house, unfortunately, just because of the competition. So that's really it for today. Again, just trying to fight anti-science as much as possible, and appeal to the Republican retards out there to try not to kill people. And if you do, just go. If you don't want to change your behavior. Oh, another Michael Franzese quote. He says, "When you hear when you hear something that makes sense, you just listen." Apparently fucking not. I bet that video, I can pull up that quote on your channel probably, I don't know, less than 6 months ago. The smartest, most accomplished scientist that's ever lived by like literally indiscernible amounts, and you won't shut the fuck up and listen. So, like what, 70, 75? So I don't know. I have no understanding of how I could ever start a family, or ever have a life, or ever have a business. Just one livable fucking wage, when every single person on both sides of the aisle, every scientist is incompetent, and people will not just sit down, shut the fuck up, listen, and be respectful. Won't happen. So that's really it for today. I want to do more formal math and stuff yet, but again, I do that every single night. That's all recorded as well. But I'm just trying to get to the end of sensorality, tingling, tickles, sensorality feels, sensorality with a C does not. So, and then I'll drop some more music or something, I don't know. Life is fucking disgusting and I hate myself. I just do. When we begin, the net result of judgment is telling people to go fuck themselves, telling them to go die, and that is because of my level of intelligence. That is the only reaction I have ever fucking gotten, for real. In the past 10 years, the past 8 to 10 years, that is the only reaction I've gotten at any point in any conversation, literally ever. And then everybody else goes whores around till they're 35, goes works for a company, literally stealing my property, watching this video right now, making investment decisions right now. Chickens with their head cuts off, man. Nothing I can do about it, and fuck everybody. So thank you for watching Language, Litigation, and Integration Part 81, Denial Until Death. My name is Brad Boas. I'm being profoundly and extensively tortured. There is nothing I can do, there is nowhere I can go, and there is no one I can call. I will be tortured until the day that I die. Thanks for watching.